I had a very different video planned for today, but it doesn't matter because we got new info for Battle Spirits Saga. I don't want to waste too much time, so let's get right into it. So first, we got this video titled Cash Prize Competitive Season Announcement. There's nothing too special about it, just that the cash prize pool is going to be a total of $1 million. I'll let you check that out, but we have more important information to talk about. They gave us the official rule manual, a play sheet, and they updated the product info. They updated the picture for the booster box, and we got detailed information for what is inside this box. So first off, the MSRP for a booster pack is going to be $4.99. It's a little unfortunate, but we have been seeing this price point for other TCG products. I would have liked to see $3.99, but it is what it is. As we surmised before, a booster pack contains 12 cards each, and one box contains 24 booster packs, which is pretty typical for a Bandai TCG product. For the rarities, we have commons, uncommons, rares, X-rares, special rares, and a top rare. And the commons, uncommons, and rares come in a normal version and a holo version. Now, we don't have the specific breakdown for a booster pack, but my guess is we'll get something like 7 commons, 3 uncommons, and 2 rare or higher cards. And one of those cards will be a holo version. We haven't seen what all of the different rarities look like. We'll just have to wait and see for that. The special rare and top rares are rarities that we have not seen in Battle Spirits before. So that'll be interesting to see if these are just higher rarities of the X-rares or if it's something else. Going to the starter decks, the MSRP is $14.99, which is pretty typical. And for the contents, we have 50 deck cards. More on that later because that's interesting. We have a play sheet, 30 core, and a soul core. That I am super excited about. And finally, we also have a Battle Spirits Saga core set. This looks to be a special blister pack. It contains 2 booster packs of BSS01, 2 of the same type of promo card, 15 core, and a soul core. I'm gonna come back to this in a moment, but right now I want to talk about the big info, the rules. So first, here's the playmat, and there's actually a lot of interesting information. In the deck zone, it tells us that a deck has 50 or more cards. This is actually a change from the original Battle Spirits rules. Originally, it was at least 40 cards. Now, as far as we can tell, there is no deck size limit. This alone is actually a big deal. On top of that, we see that there is a burst zone. This is probably something that OG Battle Spirits players were not expecting. For those who don't know, burst cards are kind of sort of the equivalent of trap cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's interesting because burst cards were not introduced in OG Battle Spirits until like 4 years later. So we weren't expecting to get this right away. But now for the meat of the information. The rule sheet. Now, I'm not gonna go over every little detail. Maybe I'll make a separate video on that. You can look at it on the website. But the stuff that I want to cover is the things that they changed from the original rules, which isn't a lot, but the things that they did are interesting. Zooming in on this, it tells us that your deck is made of 50 or more cards of your choosing, and you can have up to 4 copies of a card with the same name. Originally, it was 3 copies of a card. This is a big deal for ratios. Now, even with the minimum deck size limit being increased, having 4 copies of a card in a deck is going to slightly increase your odds of drawing a card that you want to see. We also see a couple of cards here, but I'll talk about those in a moment. And we also see a picture of what the cores look like, although it's kind of blurry. It's not a very good picture of the cores, if I'm being honest. What I do think is interesting is it seems to imply that the soul core is just this red coloring of the original. My guess is that the decks will contain these cheap cores, so you'll get a bunch of these blue cores and then one red core, which is just the same as the other original cores, and then that the blister pack is going to contain the nice looking cores, including what the actual soul core has looked like for years. But we don't know that for sure. That's just a theory of mine. Now, if we go to the setup part of the sheet, we see that they added the mulligan to the game. Mulliganing your starting hand was not in the original Battle Spirits game. So at the end of the setup phase, it says that starting with player 1, each player declares whether they will mulligan, redraw their hand. Players who choose to mulligan then return their current hand to the bottom of their deck and draw 4 new cards from the top of their deck. Then reshuffle that deck the same way as described in step 2. Players who choose not to mulligan draw an additional card, making their starting hand total 5 cards. Now again, originally there was no mulligan, and you started with 4 cards at the beginning of the game, not 5. Although it looks like that if you do mulligan, you will only get the 4 cards, but if you don't mulligan, you get an additional 5th card, and you still draw for turn on your first turn, so you can potentially start with 6 cards in hand if you do not mulligan. That is a big deal. Now again, I'm not going to go over all of the rules. I just wanted to cover the big changes that are in Battle Spirits Saga. I find this stuff very fascinating. Now, as you saw earlier, they previewed some cards on this rule sheet. Although, one of them is very blurred out, so I can't really tell what it is. Now, first off, we have Imperial Thunder Dragon Zigworm. And I'm just going to tell you right now, it is the exact same Zigworm as the original. It is a red spirit. It's a 6 cost with 3 red reduction symbols. At level 1, it's at 4,000. At level 2, 6,000. And at level 3, it's 9,000. And the core needed is 1, 3, and 5 respectively. At all levels, it has the ability Confront, which is Clash in Japanese. When this spirit attacks, Confront, your opponent must block if able. And at level 3, during your attack step, all of your spirits with Awaken gain Confront. And again, this is the exact same Thunder Dragon Zigworm that is very iconic from OG Battle Spirits. And then we have a Nexus card, Scorched Battlefield. And I found this card on the Battle Spirits wiki, and it's a completely different card from what is shown here. Scorched Battlefield is a 4-cost Nexus with 2 red reduction symbols that can go up to level 2 with 2 cores. You do not need any cores to put it out at level 1. At both levels, during your attack step, all of your red spirits gain 1000 BP. And at level 2, during your attack step, draw a card when you reduce your opponent's life. Now, I found this card on the Battle Spirits wiki, and again, it's a completely different card. Originally, it was during your main step, when you summon an ultimate, draw 1 card from your deck. This effect can only be used once per turn. And at level 2, on the opposing attack step, when your life is decreased, for each core on this Nexus, destroy an opposing spirit with 4,000 BP or less. For those wondering, an ultimate is another card type, very similar to a spirit. This sets the precedent that they can leave cards as they are, or they can just completely change a card like this one. I don't really like like that they completely reworked an existing card into a completely different one. At that point, I don't know why you wouldn't just make a brand new card, but it's probably cheaper to just use assets that already exist. And again, there's also this third card, but it's so blurred out that I can't even read it. If you OG Battle Spirits players know what this card is, leave a comment down below because I want to know. To me, it looks like it does have the burst effect, but again, it's so blurred out that I can't tell. And that is all the new information we know about Battle Spirits Saga. So what do I think? Overall, I'm still very hyped for Battle Spirits Saga. I'm not sure what I think about increasing the number of copies you can have in a deck, and I do like how they implemented the mulligan, at least on paper. We'll have to see how it plays out when we actually get the game. I cannot believe that they're bringing the burst mechanic. I am super excited for the Soul Core mechanic. I think it's the coolest thing ever, and I cannot wait to play with the Soul Core. I'm just super excited. What about you? Are you still excited for Battle Spirits Saga? What do you think of all this new information that we got? Let me know down in the comments. And until next time, laters!